Listen closely, because what I'm about to say will hit different. There comes a moment when the tables don't just turn, they flip so hard the whole room goes silent. That moment is now. And guess what? You didn't just win the game, you studied it, decoded it, and mastered it so flawlessly, even the players trying to sabotage you started clapping by accident. Here's a fact. In psychology, there's a phenomenon called the backfire effect. It's when someone tries to prove you wrong so hard, they end up proving you right. That's exactly what happened here. They plotted, they whispered, they even threw shade in HD. But you stayed in position, moving with divine precision like it was all part of a secret mission. And now, they're speechless, mute, frozen like Wi-Fi just cut out during their villain monologue. The people who thought they could control the narrative didn't realize you were the plot twist they couldn't write out. You let them think you were losing, only to checkmate their entire bloodline with one move and a smile. Side note, did anyone else hear that? That was the sound of fake people choking on their own karma snacks. So buckle up, because in this video we're unpacking exactly how you outplayed the entire circus key while they were too busy throwing bananas at each other to realize you were the zookeeper with the keys the whole time. Let's dive in. Number one, you let them underestimate you. That was the entrance fee. You let them underestimate you. And that was the smartest move you could have made. They looked at you and saw someone quiet, unsure, soft-spoken, maybe even lost. They thought they were dealing with someone who didn't know how the world works, and you let them think that, not because you were weak, but because you understood the power of misdirection. The moment they thought they had you figured out was the moment they started letting their guard down. That's when you began winning. They showed you their hand without realizing it. Every side eye, every sarcastic comment, every fake smile. They gave themselves away while thinking they were in control. You saw how they moved, how they lied, how they ganged up with each other to feel bigger. And while they were performing for their little audience, you were taking notes. You weren't reacting. You were observing. That was your advantage. You stayed calm and quiet, not because you didn't have a voice, but because you were calculating every step they took, every weakness they exposed. And the truth is, most of them thought you were harmless. That's what made you dangerous. They had no clue you were the most unpredictable piece on the board. They thought you were a pawn. But pawns become queens when they reach the other side. And now that you've arrived, they're shaking, because they know they can't put you back where you started. You didn't fake anything. You just refused to perform. You let them walk into their own trap, thinking they had the upper hand. But the whole time, you were 5 moves ahead. That's why they're speechless now, not just because you succeeded, but because they never saw it coming. They don't even know how you did it. They just know they played themselves trying to play you. And the best part, you never had to raise your voice. You just raised your value. Number 2, your humility was strategic, not insecurity. Your humility wasn't a weakness. It was a weapon they couldn't recognize. They thought you were unsure of yourself because you didn't brag, didn't compete, didn't fight to be seen. But what they didn't realize was that you were never seeking attention. You were focused on alignment. You weren't interested in proving anything to anyone because you already knew who you were. That's not insecurity, that's discipline. While they were out there scrambling to be noticed, constantly reminding everyone of their so-called value, you were building quietly. You were planting roots while they were showing off branches. They thought they were winning because they were louder, flashier, more visible. But when the storms came, it was your stillness that kept you standing. They mistook your restraint for self-doubt. Truth is, you just didn't feel the need to sell yourself to people who couldn't afford your presence in the first place. You stayed in rooms that you had clearly outgrown just to make sure you were watching the full cycle play out. You wanted to see who would talk over you, who would ignore your wisdom, who would pretend not to notice your gifts, because that told you everything you needed to know. Your humility wasn't about playing small, it was about playing smart. You were preserving your energy while they were burning themselves out, trying to impress people who weren't even watching. And now, the same people who thought you were naive are trying to figure out how you passed them without making a sound. They don't get it. They don't understand how someone so quiet got so far ahead. But the truth is, you were never quiet. You were intentional. You weren't hiding. You were protecting something sacred. And now that it's finally being revealed, they're realizing they misjudged the one person who never needed to compete, because you were never in their race to begin with.